Hi, random internet person. Thanks for visiting. This little tutorial is going to be a nice little shortcut if you're into colorizing old photos. There's a million ways to do it. There's a million tutorials, and people spend hours and hours and hours doing individual photos, which is all well and good. But what I can show you here is a little technique that will give you a bit of a shortcut, and you can use a lot of other methods to develop from this little shortcut. So I've got an old photo here, an old, could be glass plate negative, I'm not sure. It's about that age, looks like 1921. Interesting fact, if you're wondering why the writing on these images always looks so bad, it's because they had to scratch it on the back of the pic. They had to do it backwards because that's the emulsion side of the film. Anyway, that's just why quite often they have back to front ends and that in them, or the numbers are back to front. This one's done pretty well. Okay, so what we've got is a black and white pic, and I'm going to do a skin swap on this young man. So I found another image that is a very different lad, but he's going to be very helpful because he's got a nice skin tone. He's got a similar kind of face and somewhat similar age. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all, and I'm going to copy. Sorry, I should do it up there. So I'm going to copy his face and I'm going to bring it over into this one. I'm going to paste it onto this guy. So now I've got the young fella pasted on top. I shouldn't say young fella, they're both young fellas. The modern person on top. Now what I'm going to do, you can see the two layers down here. I'm going to call him the skin donor for want of a better title, and we've got the original young man underneath. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set this channel to multiply. So that shows here down in the layers palette, it says multiply, so it's multiplying the two images one over the other, and that's helpful for this phase. So now I'm going to use the transform tool. That is Control T if you're on PC, and what I can do now is I can scale this fella here by dragging these corner points, and then I can hold shift and I can drag him, oops, sorry, I didn't need to hold shift. I can just drag him down, and I'm lining his eyes up with our target layer. Get a spooky effect, which is quite interesting. Straight away you start to see him come to life. Now I can distort this any way I want, because my whole goal here is to make the modern donor's face and features fit as close as possible over the guy underneath. It doesn't have to be exact. You'll see as we go that you get away with quite a lot. So now if I hold control here, I can skew this a bit. I'm looking at his mouth now, so I'm lining up the two mouths, and I'll get his eyes back into alignment. Already you can see him coming through. Now the ears are obviously very different, so I'm going to commit that change, which means just click there or hit return, and I'm going to go to a very fun tool called Puppet Warp. Puppet Warp. This lets you just tear the image, just drag it and stretch it and do all sorts of stuff to it. And it uses this mesh. It's a virtual mesh, and it's over the layer I've got selected here, of course. It's not going to affect the layer underneath. So what I do with this is I put pins in it. So picture this like a stretchy bit of rubber. So I'm going to put a pin there, I'm going to put a pin there, I'm going to put a couple of pins in the middle. That will ensure that this left hand side doesn't move. I'm going to put some more pins down the center and over his right eye, because I'm happy with where his sorry, his left eye, my right. I'm happy with where his eye is, but I want this ear to come out. So what I've done now is I've pinned that image so that it won't just all stretch. And what I'm going to do is click and drag, and that will pull the image, and I'm lining up. I'll do his hair afterwards. I'm really looking for his ear at the moment. So what I'm hoping to do is be able to drag his ear and stretch it until it covers the old photo underneath. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. His eye's gone out a little bit, but that's alright. We can just, I'll be careful dragging it back because it might just go all wonky. We can come back afterwards and tweak that. I might just pin that because he's getting a bit too stretched, but the ear is going really well. We're getting lots of tone for the ear. And I'm going to commit that one by clicking the tick up there. Now his other ear is in the same situation, so what I'm going to do is go and get another puppet warp, and I'm going to pin him right down this middle, so these bits won't move, and then I'll double pin over here because I don't want his eye distorting again. The pins don't have to be on the lines, they'll sort themselves out, and you need the corners to be kind of pinned. Sometimes it'll just jump the corners around. So now that I've got him all pinned down safe, I can drag out a bit of hair, drag this ear, and this ear needs to go up, needs to go in, and what we're doing is we're not trying to make it match exactly on his ear. What we want is the colour. We're all about getting colour to put on the old photo. Now while we're here, I can drag this chin out a little bit. If you get messy with the puppet warp, just go back and do it again. It's very intuitive kind of tool, very easy to go here and there with, and just redo it and fiddle with it and play with it. Now you can see that it's coming together there. Now what we've got, here's the original boy, and here's the overlay. Here he is with colour over the top. So now what we've got is we've got a mishmash of the features of both of those people. So what we're going to do now, because we're not keeping it multiplied, sometimes you will use multiply to get a skin tone on, but we're not too fussed with that here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to erase some bits of the donor, and he's looking pretty good already. I'm liking where this is going because we're really bringing this young fella to life, but you can see that his face changes because the features are different on the donor, but the colour is good. So what I want to do is I want to lose the detail from the donor. So let's have a look at this donor. That's what he looks like. He's starting to disappear. So what we'll do is we will blur the donor. Now in blurring, my favourite one always is Gaussian blur. Not Gaussian, it's Gaussian, named after a scientist. And we will see that we do sorry, we do quite a bit of blur, and that lets the features of the original person come through more than the donor. There's a little bit of tweaking going on there. So now when you look, we've got the features of the original person and we've got the colour of the donor. Obviously there's a bit of tidying up to be done yet, but it's a very good shortcut if you're doing colorizations. So now, having got that far, I'll just grab I'll do a bit of a tidy up on it. So I'll grab an eraser tool, and by doing shift and right bracket we harden it, and then shift and left bracket will soften it. You can see up here it's 35 and it's fairly soft. And just a right bracket to enlarge it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase these spurious bits of colour from the donor image, so we're just looking at the original young fella. Okay, see where he's poking up. This is not final, by the way, this is just getting some tone into that image. There, you brush a little bit harder. I'm not doing this with much detail, of course, because I'm just doing a quick tutorial here. But what we'll do is we'll clean up the bits that we don't need. They don't need to be very precise, because when you colour this shirt, you're going to be working back over the stuff that's underneath there, and you're going to find it does help quite a lot. So what we've got now, I won't go much further on this, but you can see how the technique works, is that I've basically stolen the lovely tones from that modern guy and just cloned it onto the face of our subject. And with some tweaking and trying different blending modes, you're going to easily be able to make this guy look quite realistic. I'm not going into any detail here. You can see it's just like 5 minutes and we've got this far already. Now we can take it off multiply. We can use all sorts of different blending modes, usually like color or yeah, pretty much color, to be honest. But if you just slide through these modes, you can find really interesting little bits that might suit some parts of the pic and not others. The hard light is giving a nice effect on his skin there. He looks really a lot more natural. Generally it's these type of tones in here. Not so much, occasionally use vivid light, but here hard light is working quite well, and overlay is working quite well. All that stuff in the background that's flicking off and on, you can just erase all that. So what we've got here is a very interesting, very quick start. Now we can use opacity also. Opacity is just changing the strength of the overlaid layer, and I do find that I'm generally using this technique of multiply and sliding to build the different parts. You might do his hair from one donor and his skin tone from another donor. You're going to be tweaking little color areas around the mouth and that sort of thing, but that all happens on this layer. So quite easily in here you can just, with a soft cloning tool, you can manipulate the shape of his mouth or little nuances of color or the hair or whatever, and you can very easily just use this as like a paint splash layer that you're just splashing onto the image underneath. And if you build a few of those, and you do the same with the clothes, you find a modern piece of clothing with similar color and texture to what you want, and use the puppet warp and you make it fit excuse me, and you can do all kinds of manipulation on it and make it fit. Don't go putting selections around things and trying to make shapes and do really fine individual shapes. You don't need to. What you'll be doing is you'll just be basically adding more of these painting layers, and I'll go into a bit more depth on another tutorial, but you can see that just that little 5-minute technique can take you leaps and bounds into getting your basic color onto an old pic, and then what you do from there, you can spend hours and hours refining it, but that'll give you a shortcut to some natural looking tones. One of my pet peeves on these colorizations that people do is they just pick a color and they kind of paint it on. So when you look at a family group that's been colorized, they've all got exactly the same skin tone. Their face is all just one flat tone. Faces aren't like that. Faces have light and dark. They have glitches and brown parts and red parts. They have a lot of different colors on a face. It's not just pick a skin tone and just paint it on lighter or darker. That just looks terrible to me. But this technique will give you the natural tone of a face. And if you take it a step further, you can add another layer and you can show the pores and that sort of thing, pores and wrinkles, and you can get very detailed in adding much more detail and depth to a colorization of an old photo. So I'm going to leave that one there. That's a very quick and dirty start, but it's quite easy to see the power of that technique, and it will save you a lot of time if you're into colorizations or if you're just starting on colorizations. So I'll leave that one there. I'm the guy that does graphics work for free. Email address right up there, Adobe One Kenobi channel, and I look forward to having you send me your questions, suggestions, jobs to do. I will fix your photos for free. I will show you a technique and send you the result back for free. All I ask is just share me on your socials. Subscribe and see more tutorials, see other people's examples, see when your example is done. So if you email it to me, subscribe, you'll get a notification when I work on your pic, and then I'll just send you the result by email. And I'm happy to do it for free if I can just do as much Photoshop as I can. I just love it. Okay, thanks for watching, and don't forget to share me around on your socials and subscribe. Catch you on the next one.